to wystąpienie będzie w języku angielskim, więc też jeżeli ktoś nie rozumie po angielsku, to mamy tłumaczenie symultaniczne, wystarczy zabrać odpowiednie urządzenie, które jest w antresoli spotka. I jeszcze chwilę, zanim ja zapowiem tego prelegenta, z racji tego, że tutaj już trochę was popytałem o startupy, które reprezentujecie, to chciałbym trochę opowiedzieć o tym, który można by powiedzieć ja reprezentuję, bo mówiłem na samym początku, że działam też w sektorze kosmicznym. Z ciekawości chcę też zapytać, czy ktoś z was też reprezentuje sektor kosmiczny, technologię albo coś innego? Sektor kosmiczny, ktoś? Ręka do góry? Nie widzę żadnych rąk. Nie wiem, czy wiecie, ale w Polsce powstała pierwsza w Europie analogowa baza kosmiczna. Analogowa to znaczy, że astronauci, którzy do niej wchodzą, są na Ziemi, nie są w kosmosie, są na Ziemi. I ta baza, jeżeli sobie wyobrazicie albo oglądaliście Marsjanina z Mattem Damonem, to ta baza wygląda mniej więcej tak, jak ta baza, w której Matt Damon hodował ziemniaki. I w ramach tej bazy my robimy różne badania naukowe, przeróżne tematy. Aeroponika na przykład, czyli uprawy w wodzie. Robimy też badania ze światłem i wyszło nam, że jak zamknęliśmy astronautów na dłuższy czas i sterowaliśmy światłem i zrobiliśmy tak, że przez pewien czas mieli 22-godzinną dobę i przez pewien czas mieli 26-godzinną dobę. I słuchajcie, wyszło nam, że rzeczywiście doba jest za krótka, dlatego że oni lepiej funkcjonowali w momencie, kiedy doba miała 26 godzin, więc normalnie pracowali 8 godzin, spali 8 godzin, ale mieli 10 godzin na to, żeby zająć się różnymi innymi rzeczami, więc 26-godzinna doba zdecydowanie lepsza. Także jak macie teraz wytłumaczenie na to, że jak brakuje czasu, to rzeczywiście jest to prawda, brakuje go. No i robimy różne też badania inne, które pomogą w tym, żeby wysłać człowieka w kosmos w pewnym momencie. A myślę, że to jest też taka perspektywa dosyć nieodległa, że rzeczywiście skolonizujemy kosmos już całkiem niedługo. I oczywiście jednym z głównych prowodyrów w tej chwili jest Elon Musk, o którym dzisiaj już tutaj było wspominane. Ale sektor kosmiczny jest dużo szerszy, jest dużo więcej firm, które w nim pracują. I właśnie w Polsce też mamy ich całkiem sporo, bo my jako Space is More, Space Garden i Lunares nie jesteśmy jedyni. W tej bazie kosmicznej ja właściwie zajmuję się taką częścią biznesową, bo my oprócz tego, że wpuszczamy tam podmioty naukowe i astronautów, żeby prowadzili różne badania, to chcemy tam też zapraszać biznes do tego, żeby biznes wyszkolić. Wyszkolić w warunkach takich, w jakich szkoli się astronautów i w takich, w jakich astronauci po prostu spędzają dużo czasu. Dobrze, słuchajcie. Także jakby ktoś chciał porozmawiać jeszcze o tej bazie kosmicznej, ja bardzo chętnie, ale to już w przerwie, a teraz chciałem przejść do tego, żeby zapowiedzieć naszego prelegenta, który będzie teraz występował. I przerzucę się na język angielski, dlatego że on będzie występował po angielsku, więc ja może też po angielsku go zapowiem. So, our next speaker is the founder of HR Tech Valley, which is the ecosystem for HR tech companies. He's the CEO and founder of Talento. And he's also involved in a project called Facelitics, which is an AI. And if you want to talk about AI with him or representatives of his projects, you can find them in the booth, one of the booths in the Antresola of Spodek. So AI is going to be the topic he's going to talk about, and in particular, how artificial intelligence is going to change the world of recruitment. So please give a warm welcome to Ben Greeven.
We have a pointer for the presentation. Where does it start? Good afternoon. It is a special honor to speak after your Prime Minister, who I remember talked about three things that are very important to me. A, that whenever he's in Belgium, Brussels, he talks about startups. That's something that's very close to me. I secondly remembered that he talked about how flexible Polish workers are. And the third thing is that he cared about innovation. And that is a funny thing I have to mention. I was last week in the US on a conference about learning and how learning will evolve in the future. And if I walk the streets, even the grass on the streets surrounding the trees was plastic. Here, I can smell the grass. It's real grass, and there are real trees. So, what a difference. What I want to talk about is how AI is going to change AR. And it's not going to change HR. It is already changing AR very dramatically. So bear with me, and I'll try to take you through a travel on this. First, a couple of words. I've been in HR technology for the last 15 to 20 years. And 2 years ago, together with my partner, we founded an ecosystem just to support young companies, startups, on how to find their way to the HR manager. Because that's not always as easy as it might seem. And we're in the middle of creating a fund to not only help these people with ideas or with support or networking, but also help them with what they like, not money, but smart money. Money and brains together. That's what we're trying to do. There's 3 of us today. What's our ambition? Well, there are 2 ambitions. A, we want to create synergies, because it's our belief that HR companies need to work together. If they don't work together, they will come into a situation that we call features, and it will not be a company anymore. It's just a trick, a company doing a trick, and that won't last for long. The second thing is to create awareness with HR people. Because one of the things I'm finding wherever I talk in Europe is that a lot of people in the HR business are still hoping, dreaming, wishing this is going to go away. And it's not. It's here to stay. So what's AI? Well, AI, machine learning, and deep learning are a couple of words that get very often confused. If you talk about AI, it's any technique that enables computers to mimic human intelligence. I heard something about that today. When do you know whether you're talking to a computer or to a real person? Well, you might want to know that one of the large players just announced that if they're going to have you talk to a computer, they're going to tell you that you're talking to a computer. That's one thing. It sounds a bit like if you have an electric car, we're going to make a sound that makes you hear that there's a car. Second thing, machine learning are techniques with the ability to learn, improve without being programmed necessarily. And today we're talking more about deep learning and machine learning. How did this evolve? This is a bit the historical overview. For those of you who think that this is something new, no. We started playing with this in the 50s. We didn't find the right algorithms. We found them in the meantime, and now we're moving into the big area, and it's going very fast. An important thing you need to remember, and then I'll shut up about this, the point of singularity is the point where basically the computer, the algorithm, gets smarter than us. And according to a couple of smart men, this is one of them, that point is expected in 2047. That's another, 29 years. I'm on the verge of being nearly 60, so I just might make it or not make it. Although, on the other hand, it says that due to this progress, science will also proceed so fast that in the next 20 years, we all become older and we can live to 120. I hope I meet that. So let's go back to this planet HR. And what is HR tech? But to explain you what HR tech is, I need you to take a little trip with me. If we talked about HR tech before the year 2000, the only thing that was in technology was payrolling, it was fleet management, and it was insurance. And it was low tech. It was basically filling boxes, it was basically admin. In the year 2000, not only did we have the first internet bubble, most of you have forgotten that, but the first bubble came in 2000. A lot of people lost a lot of money, but we had the introduction of job sites. So the whole printing industry felt that. The real change, however, came in 2011, when the rather big boys moved into what you could call HR, but basically what happened is they were not ready for cloud. They had on-premise big systems, and they moved into cloud companies. Those are the three major developments at that time. Later followed by what I would call the introduction of cloud. When I started my company, Talento, in 2011, when I had to explain we are in the cloud, the first question I would get, what about security? You're in the cloud, is it safe? What a difference. Nobody asks that question anymore. The only question you get asked today is, what about GDPR? But nobody talks about cloud anymore. Where are we today in HR tech, and why is it so moving fast, and why am I making such a point, such a fuss about it? Well, there are two reasons. A, we have an explosion of startups. This is a map of Belgian startups on April 19th of this year. You can count them all, but there's going to be around 160 companies in all various fields of HR technology. If I look back 15 years ago, in Belgium, you would have had 10 countries in HR. And that's the same for France, that's the same for Italy, that's the same for Poland, that's the same for all these countries. So that's one region. We have an explosion of startups delivering tools and technology in HR. The second thing is, and that's a real change, and that's very recent, the big players are coming into this field. What do I mean with big players? Well, you have Google moving into this area, you have Facebook moving into this area, and you have Microsoft. This is by no means a complete list. And I apologize for the very rude green letters on it, but I have to change my presentation every 2 days. Because to the left, the screening thing from Microsoft in LinkedIn was only announced yesterday. So I had to change that last night. The training thing, LinkedIn is making a very big thing of Linda and is attacking very hard the learning field. I was in this, as I told you, in San Diego, this learning thing. Learning is becoming a field that is changing from 70% people-driven to 40% people-driven over the next 2 years. So that market of trainers is going to lose 30% of business market share. Duplex, I heard, was already mentioned today, but Google is moving with Duplex, but Google has also already, a year ago, announced that it's offering up all its technology to move into semantic search, to database search, to matching CVs, to advertisements. Google is moving into that field, along with Facebook, who is creating, as they call it, they're creating the LinkedIn for the blue labor worker. I didn't invent that, it's their expression. They call it, we want to be the blue-collar LinkedIn. My guess, first blue-collar LinkedIn, then LinkedIn. Why are they moving into this field? I heard a number mentioned about your economy and about taxes, about 33 billion. The entire HR market globally, freelance and HR, is $1,900 billion every year. You want to know why these guys are interested? So what is artificial intelligence in HR tech? Because you know now why this field is interesting. What does this mean? First, we need to look at what's this whole HR field. And it starts from attracting people to basically following people on their way out. A lot of companies forget that. It's extremely important to find out why people leave your organization. Valuable data. If we look in HR domains, you would expect that AI would be in all domains from HR. I got this question 2 weeks ago from a very attentive Dutch participant in a presentation, and I had to add this, because I learned that a lot of these AIs are predominantly today in recruiting. Why? Well, they are in recruiting because that's the place where they can save today the most of time and the most of money. I'm going to show you some examples of startups, of AIs in the field of recruiting, and some of them you might know, some of them you don't know. But I'll run you through it. Anybody with any questions later, I'm happy to address them. We're at the booth outside. Wade and Wendy are two AIs. One is an assistant, one helps you through hiring. Mia is a bot that helps you how to fill CVs and how to get your CV to the right place. And if you think this is only about volume, Woo on the left side has launched Helena. And Helena is a tool only aimed at the top executives. So it's not only volume, it's also top executives. So tools and bots are going to be all over. These are two very interesting bots. I put them side to side. One is American, one is Russia. And there is one thing that surprised me while making this again. And I'll ask you the question, because I don't have the answer, but why do all these bots have female names? They're called Helena, they're called Olivia, they're called Emma, but I've not seen a bot called Joe or Jack or any other name. Very interesting bots that you might be interested in is a bot called Restless Bandit. Anybody know what you have a very extensive database with good CVs in, but you can't find them anymore? Well, Restless Bandit will dive into your database and find the old CVs you can't find anymore. They're going to match them to that. Text-to-You is already built in to a couple of tools, LinkedIn for one. It's also going to be built into Monsters. And what Text-to-You does is help you smartly run through all kinds of documents and match these documents to what you need. It's the next level of what you would call semantic search. This I found an interesting one. This is a completely virtual environment. It's called Sergeant Star. It's by the US military. And it completely manages the whole experience of more than 3 million people every year applying to the American military. They're taken by the hand by this digital sergeant who then helps them find the right position in the job. So the question is there a case for AI in recruitment? And why would you use it? Well, reason number one. It's a study by Deloitte, and it says that over the next 2 years, more than 66% of millennials are going to be looking for another job. 66%. How are we ever going to manage that in an expedient way if we don't start using technologies? I don't know if you know it, but we have a war for talent. One of the great issues in you would call it the lowlands, is they can't find recruiters anymore because they've all gone freelance. So who's going to fill those jobs? We are going to need those bots. Secondly, is what I would call the candidate experience. This is just some data from a survey in Belgium and in Holland. And the survey says that 29% of candidates don't get a reply. 60% of people find that the procedure takes too long. Imagine this. I've asked myself the question very often. I like to buy sneakers and I like to buy them everywhere. I bought a pair in Japan and I could follow to the day online where my sneakers were. I don't know any tool in recruitment that tells any candidate where he or she is in the procedure. I checked it. I still don't know a tool where you could just simply log in and find out in what stage you are in the recruitment process. But you can find out where your shoes are. If there's any startup wanting to do that, I want to talk to them. The third reason, the career owner is a consumer. The career owner works with his smartphone night and day. The career owner wants an answer. The career owner goes into a company, applies for a job, and if he or she has to wait for 15 minutes, they will either Messenger, WhatsApp, Instagram, on their experience. Their experience will be on the net about your company even before you can interview the candidate. And 4, we have a shortage in talent. I don't think I need to emphasize that. So what's on the wish list for AI then? A, it needs to be evidence-based. B, real-time. It needs to be speed. It needs to be fast, and it needs to be immediately. 3, it needs to be transparent. And I think that's maybe the biggest challenge. Get the data to the people, not only to HR, to the people. So, what can you expect next from AI in HR? I wish I could have shown you this, but maybe you log into it. It's an interesting tool to see. It is developed in 2014, I think, that long ago. This is a virtual empathic therapeutic coach. Ellie is the girl on the right, and she is treating an American soldier with post-traumatic stress disorder. It is completely AI-driven, and it's completely interactive. If you look SimSensei, you can find it still on the internet. You can watch it. It works. It's developed by DARPA. It's now in the hands of the American military again, and it's actually being used, and it scores better than any real-life therapeutic. Second is Emma. She's, again, a female name for a bot, and she's a bot that will help you through your learning. It is a bot that will adapt to what you have learned, and then will adapt the offering of next courses to your work. Last is an AI of a Belgian company in learning. It's a very big question. We train a lot of people. How do we know what they learned? How do we measure that? Well, they have found a solution of building their AI into your work. And over the use of your computer, over the use of the systems and the software, it measures how you work better through the system. So actually, by measuring how you work before and how you work after, they know how you're doing. A mention of one of my startups in facial recognition. If you want to experience it, you can do outside. I want to end with a couple of conclusions. A, I think AI is here to stay. I don't think it's going to go away anymore. I also believe that humans will become more important in HR. Just the opposite. I think HR people will be necessary in ER and will take a very critical role, but it will be less people, and they will be doing a completely different job. They will move away from the admin, and they will move into people time. So, what should HR do? And that's the note on which I would like to conclude. I think HR needs to do one thing. I think HR needs to hang tight, adapt to the situation, and enjoy the ride. I would like to thank you for your attention.
Ben Greeven, thank you. Pewnie zdążyliście się zorientować, że już nie będzie przerwy, a w ogóle to wracamy do polskiego, więc no. Dobrze, to mamy kolejnego prelegenta, który teraz wystąpi. I ten prelegent jest seryjnym przedsiębiorcą, jest inwestorem, jest współtwórcą wirtualnej Polski, partnerem zarządzającym w Giza Polish Ventures, prezesem zarządów Nano Group. I chciałbym, żebyście mi pomogli go przywitać gorącymi brawami. Marek Bożestowski. Wielkie brawa. Oho.